This is a moment in Jewish history. I am your host, Ben Bresky, and the holiday of Passover is upon us, so I reached out to you, the listeners, to ask you about your favorite Passover movies. Some of you sent in funny answers. No, I don't think Miracle on 34th Street is a Passover movie, but others suggested such things as Shalom Sesame Passover.
Sesame Street and Hot Sum Sum present Shalom Sesame with me, Katie Ben Kippon.
A Rugrats Passover, and one woman told me that she had it as a kid on VHS cassette tape.
You're a hero, Moses! You led the babies to freedom!
The animated Haggadah.
It's almost as if we were back in the days of the pyramids.
Passover at Bubby's.
Bubby's boarding house. Bubby's boarding house.
One person mentioned a movie about the Holocaust which features a Passover Seder. Well, I'm not sure if this is the one you mean, but in 1999 there was a TV drama called The Devil's Arithmetic, starring Kirsten Dunst and Brittany Murphy, about a Jewish girl who is bored at her family's Passover Seder when she is transported back in time to the Holocaust, where she sees a Jewish family experiencing Passover during World War II. But the top 3 Passover films that got mentioned were When Do We Eat?, Prince of Egypt, The Ten Commandments. When Do We Eat is a 2005 film about a family with awkward personal relationships who get together every year for a Passover Seder led by the father, who makes a living selling Christmas ornaments. The grandfather, played by Jack Klugman, is a Holocaust survivor. One son has become a Hasidic Baal Tshuva. The other is a stoner.
Fastest Seder on earth, page 7.
Why have a Seder if all you're going to do is rush through it?
Because that's what Jews do, page 9.
We won't mention what the daughter does for a living. The film is rated R. There's also a non-Jewish girlfriend who attends the Seder. It features the Moshav Band, who I interviewed back when I did a music podcast. Let me know if you want to hear it. One interesting thing for me about When Do We Eat is, even though it's crass and crude, at the end, the family reconciles and finds meaning in the holiday tradition, and the father has a genuine natural spiritual experience. It was written and directed by Salvador Litvak, who went on to gain fame for his blog, The Accidental Talmudist. He later wrote Let My People Laugh, Greatest Jewish Jokes of All Time, and his most recent film is called Guns and Moses, about a rabbi in America who defends his synagogue from anti-Jewish prejudice. Litvak was in Jerusalem this February for the Israeli premiere of the film. Prince of Egypt, released in 1998 by DreamWorks Animation, was a critical success and starred the voices of Val Kilmer, Ralph Fiennes, Michelle Pfeiffer, Sandra Bullock, Jeff Goldblum, Danny Glover, Patrick Stewart, Helen Mirren, Ofra Haza, and more.
Can't stay here any longer. Moses!
No! All I've ever known to be true is a lie.
Ramesses, let my people go!
It was directed by Jeffrey Katzenberg. The film was praised for its closeness to the authentic biblical story and its appropriateness for kids. It was rated PG, and the soundtrack was nominated for a Grammy Award. Here's what film critics Cecil and Ebert had to say.
What we have here is a classic story, well told, beautifully drawn, with an occasional musical sequence that's memorable. That's more than enough for me to give thumbs up to The Prince of Egypt.
Oh, I get thumbs up too, Gene. I thought this was a wonderful animated film, and all the more so because it tells a genuine, legendary, and historical story and doesn't necessarily cute it up. And the thing that kind of struck me, not long ago I saw Cecil B. DeMille's original silent version of the Ten Commandments, and then of course he made the famous sound version. And this has now become kind of like a movie archetype, with the slaves groaning as they try to pull these enormous rocks to build the pyramids. And it becomes an enormously powerful story that actually it was DeMille who first set it in motion, because his visual ideas from the 20s are still being used now in the 90s.
You're quite right. It has an energy, even though we know it. In a sense, because we know it, we can sit back and appreciate the artfulness of the film.
What about the great scene everybody remembers from seeing Ten Commandments on television, the parting of the Red Sea? It is done so well here. I mean, the way that the animation makes the water seem to stand up, it doesn't all have to be just cute little talking animals. It can
Right.
sometimes deal with great stories and great concepts, and here's an example where it does.
Okay.
And this brings us up to the Ten Commandments, which, like many of you, I watched as a kid. As mentioned by Roger Ebert, the 1956 classic by celebrated director Cecil B. DeMille is a remake of a film he made 33 years earlier. Well, not exactly a remake, because the original film features a dramatic telling of the Exodus story, but that's only part. Most of it takes place in the contemporary world of America, about two brothers, John and Dan, who live with their devout Christian mother. One brother is religious like his mother, and the other secular. They both fall for a poor homeless girl named Mary. The 1923 movie was filmed in California and had thousands of extras. Among them were what they called at the time 250 Old World Israelites. These were new immigrants and members of California's Orthodox Jewish community. During the filming in the Santa Barbara sand dunes, Rabbi Aaron Markowitz made sure that there was kosher food for the extras and interpreted for Yiddish speakers. Local journalists reported that old men with long patriarchal beards came with their belongings tied up in newspapers and old suitcases. They were given a kosher kitchen and a script to learn their roles, although one extra stated, "We know the script. Our fathers studied it long before there were movies." I can't play you any sound clips because it was a silent black and white film. By the 1950s, with modern technology, DeMille sought to create an updated version. This one strictly following the biblical narrative, and he used lots of research to try and make it historically accurate. Parts were filmed on location in Egypt. According to a 1954 article from the Jewish Telegraphic Agency, there were some issues. Quote, Egypt, which is at war with the State of Israel, will not permit American Jews to enter the country to work on productions unless they are certified as essential to the project. All applicants for Egyptian visas must declare their religion. Herb Brin, editor of the Anglo-Jewish weekly Heritage, said, "It takes on ominous meaning when film executives ask producers and writers not to declare themselves as Jewish." The writer declared that in the Columbia production of Joseph and His Brethren, 17,500 Egyptians were given the job of playing Jews in the Exodus to the Red Sea. Cecil B. DeMille is to begin filming his Ten Commandments, a $3 million production in Egypt, next November. One Egyptian newspaper called Al-Hilal denounced the filming of the Ten Commandments as Zionist propaganda. The Ten Commandments, starring Charlton Heston as Moses and Yul Brynner as Pharaoh, went on to become a critical success, and to this day, one of the top-grossing movies of all time.
Behold his mighty hand!
Here's how The Hollywood Reporter in 1956 reviewed the film. DeMille has augmented the Bible story with careful research. It stresses our common brotherhood as children of Abraham, rather than the differences which the years have brought. Proclaim liberty throughout the lands unto all the inhabitants therein. So says Moses to the Jews as the chosen people approach the river Jordan. This is the theme of this great picture, liberty under God, and sanctity of the individual and his struggle for freedom over oppression.
The Lord of hosts will do battle for us.
This is how DeMille himself opened the film.
The theme of this picture is whether men are to be ruled by God's law or whether they are to be ruled by the whims of a dictator like Ramesses. Are men the property of the state, or are they free souls under God? This same battle continues throughout the world today. Our intention was not to create a story, but to be worthy of the divinely inspired story created 3,000 years ago.
Born Cecil Blount DeMille in Massachusetts, his father was the dramatist Henry Churchill DeMille from North Carolina of Dutch ancestry. His mother was Matilda Beatrice Samuel, a playwright and actress, born to a Jewish-German family. DeMille was raised an Episcopalian Christian and made a number of Christian-themed films. The JTA reported in 1927 that DeMille, quote, frequently spoke of his Jewish mother to various actors whom he had known to be Jews, always saying that he was proud of having Jewish blood in his veins. After the Ten Commandments, he was given the B'nai B'rith Award in 1957 for fostering spiritual brotherhood and good interfaith relations. Another interesting tidbit that connects a previous podcast I did is that several years prior to making the Ten Commandments, DeMille made Samson and Delilah. The screenplay was based on the book Samson the Nazarite by none other than the fiery, outspoken Zionist leader Zev Jabotinsky. DeMille bought the rights to the book, and to this day, Jabotinsky, for whom streets are named after in Israel, is listed in the Internet Movie Database and in film books as a co-writer of Samson and Delilah. For my full podcast on Jabotinsky, check out my website at benbresky.substack.com. Also, you can listen to last year's Passover special, in which you, the listeners, sent in your fun Seder stories. Let me know if you agree with this list of Passover movies. I wish everyone a happy holiday. Thank you for listening, and Shalom.